Welcome to the Vibrant Life podcast. This is the official podcast of the Vibrant Life community, and I'm Sarah Nolan, a burnout prevention and energy management consultant. And I'm here now with Donnie. Oh my gosh, I'm going to demolish your last name. Steingrubey?
Steingrubey. Yeah, you're
Steingrubey,
close.
okay. And Donnie's here with us today because he has a really powerful story to share about how he grew up in poverty. We were just speaking earlier, and he was telling me that his mom would actually go without eating to be able to support the kids. Did you say you have a brother?
Older sister.
An older
I have two younger sisters, but they came
Okay.
way late in life, so
Okay.
they actually are spoiled.
And now he owns a trucking company called the 7S Logistics Trucking Company, and he's hauling big equipment like across the country.
Yep.
Yeah. Awesome. So this is pretty incredible. And Donnie was just telling me that, he never imagined this kind of a lifestyle, that he would be able to be married and have kids and own a trucking company. And, most people, never get out of that poverty cycle and just kind of end up doing what they, how they grew up. So Donnie, can you share a little bit about this journey with us and talk about where you started and how did you get into this position now where you've got this amazing family and your trucking company?
So mentally, I think my journey started when I was 17. I got some serious charges, and I actually ended up with a 45-year prison sentence and went to prison for a while. About 10 years I was in there fighting it, and my case got back in front of a judge on appeals, and I actually got my sentence reduced down to a 12-year sentence. But
so you went from 45 years to 12 years?
Yeah, well, I was 100% guilty. They just messed up on some of the legal jargon they use when I pled guilty. And instead of running my sentences consecutive like they are concurrent, like they were supposed to, they ran them consecutive and ran all my time, which means if you have a 10-year sentence, a 12-year sentence, and so on and so forth, it all runs. You have to do it all. And so that's exactly what they did, and that's not what I pled guilty to. So it took a long time for them to figure that out. But at first, I was in there. I was not a model inmate. I was in trouble a lot, and I don't know what point. It seemed probably 7 years in there. I finally just realized that I might be getting out soon, and I can't get out with the same mentality. And even though I got back out. In 2009, I got out, and I fell right back into the same nonsense. I was back in St. Louis, and I start realizing every single person around me was negative. They weren't focused on me, doing better in my life. They were focused on me, just taking me down with them, which it was my own choice. But they were still doing the same kind of stuff, and I would just be right along with it. But that's the only type of people I knew. So I had to just really focus on myself and what I wanted. And through books and stuff, I felt like I changed so much mentally that I didn't even feel right around some of these guys anymore. And
what were some of the books that really helped?
What is the name of that? 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. I read that in there. Goodness, I'm trying to think of. I can't think of the other one that was a really popular one too. But that one made a big difference, and I still to this day try to read it once a year. And people's biographies also, I'd read biographies in there and just see I don't know, I can't think of the guy's name, but the Crossing the Switchblade, he was somebody that grew up going in and out of juvenile and prison, and he turned his life to God and changed. But just listening to his story, you see that there's hope. I mean, there's a chance that if you really want it, you can change. So seeing that kind of stuff, I knew that my thinking, everything had to change. And
Yeah. So many people say you can't change a person.
uh,
And
I mean, I don't think it's hard. I mean,
yeah.
it's still struggle because I mean, compared to your average person, my morals, I didn't probably have like, there were certain things I still obviously was against, like pedophilia, couldn't stand it, but morally, I wasn't like where most people were. Like I would get upset if a friend of mine ended up killing somebody and he went to prison. I was mad that the other person put him in that situation.
Mm.
Like that was the type of thinking. So I had to change all that, and I had just a bad attitude. So I mean, it's hard because you have to like retrain yourself
Oh yeah.
to really care. I mean, I didn't think I was capable of loving nobody, nothing. So I had to train myself how to teach myself how to love though. So
How did you
I
do
mean,
that?
to
Did you have like a process
my
or
wife, like I think her unconditional love towards me through a lot of struggles that she had to deal uh, with me, it just showed that somebody besides my mom could care about me that much, and
Mhm.
that helped. And it took me about 2 years after I met her. I met her after I got out of prison, and then to get married to her, and because I felt like I wasn't like worth her marrying. Like I was like, there's no way, because I don't think I can love her. But eventually, plus when I start having kids and you see, like, I don't know how somebody could keep like hate inside of them once they have kids, and you look at this child that you brought into this world. I mean, that changes a person. If it doesn't,
Yeah.
then something might be wrong with you. So I mean, that was my process to really feel like, to feel other people truly love me unconditionally is what helped me be able to love. And I mean, it's changed me drastically. Even from 10 years ago, I'm such a different person where, I mean, people, like, things don't even bother me like they used to anymore. As far as people's attitudes towards me, I'm like, they just need love themselves. So
Yeah, absolutely. I totally know what you mean. Um, yeah, it's amazing what happens when you start to open your heart a little bit more and then just see what's really available to you.
yeah, and that was my biggest thing. I think I mean, I could just go on and on about like my childhood was terrible, and I think I shut down emotionally as a kid. Like, I mean, even back to when I was 3 and 4 years old, I shut everything down, and I don't think I developed emotionally like I was supposed
Mm.
to, and it messed me up. So, and because I went like to psychiatrists all my life and got labeled with different diagnosis, and
Mhm.
I believed him at one point, and I still to this day question some things about myself, but I try to just push those out of my head and be like, yeah, it's just not, I'm not labeling myself with anything. Because I don't take medication, none of that junk anymore. I used to fall into their junk of believing what they said and have me on all sorts of stuff.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What made you decide to get off the medication? Was there like a shift that you
I,
had?
I'm probably slightly narcissistic and like having control.
Hmm.
And that's the honest truth. Like I felt like I didn't want a drug to be controlling my mind. Like I actually never, I wouldn't say I didn't have drug problems. Like I did drugs in my past, but I've never been like strung out drug addict. Like I've always wanted, like I like having control of situations that I'm in. So I didn't want my guard down like that. And I felt some of those medicines they'd give me were zombifying me, and
Hmm.
I can't do this. So that's and even though I might have needed them, I don't know at the time. I probably did, but I was like, I got to get off of this stuff. That's too much control over me.
Yeah, yeah, that's incredible. You know, a lot of people are too fearful to do that. You know, they feel like they kind of buy into what they've been told. And you're right, some people, you know, they do need it, but then at the same time, we have this infinite power within our own minds to mold and shape to whatever we want. So if you do have that drive, um, and you know you have that inside of you, then then we can create any chemicals, any hormones we want within our own nervous system, in our own mind. So that's really neat that you did that. Um, what are Well, how did you get into the trucking company? Like, how did you
I
end up
being
doing
a
that?
felon. So when I got out of prison, obviously I couldn't go back to robbing drug dealers and stuff like that. So I was like, I got to get a job, and it's extremely hard. And I'm obviously, you see, I'm covered in tattoos, and uh, it's not easy. And I don't have like the best felonies on my background. They're robberies and like I have felonious restraint. I have all sorts of crazy stuff, but and that was even another pattern. I justified it because they were drug dealers. I was like,
Mhm.
they're criminals themselves. So never thought I'd go to prison for it.
Oh yeah.
But but you employers don't see that necessarily. They just
Mhm.
see like all these different charges. Like, good grief, we don't want this guy. And I had no work history. Like, I didn't have a work history at all because I went to jail when I was 17 years old. So I start working at a tree service, raised tree service. It used to be in Valley Park, Missouri, and I first got my CDL with them driving a crane truck and with the log trailer behind it. So you needed a
Mhm.
Class A CDL, and started from there. And just uh, the more kids I kept having, the more money I needed to make. So I was like, this is not. I need to do something else. So I bought my first truck in 2011. I bought a 2006 Peterbilt 379, and I start hauling livestock. It was the first thing I start doing, and
Yeah.
has been doing it ever since.
Amazing. And what do you like the most about it? Like what so okay,
With
so you
what
said, oh, go ahead.
with what I do now, it's a challenge because it's really big stuff. I mean, you have to. It keeps you. You're chaining it all down yourself, so it's just challenging because that I don't know how to explain it. It's like a whole different aspect of trucking than like regular trucking because
Yeah.
you're dealing with you always have to have permits. Everything's way oversized, and you just always have to be on your toes. It's a challenge, so it doesn't keep you bored, and that's what I enjoy most. It's just you don't get complacent doing the same thing every single
Mhm.
day. So, and I enjoy driving. It gives me because I think if when I stay home too much, I don't read. Well, I mean, I don't really read now. I just listen to audiobooks, but I have 11 hours a day
Mhm.
nonstop to listen to audiobooks, so I
That's
can knock some of
awesome.
them out. Yeah, it's amazing. So
That sounds
that's
like
one
heaven
thing
to
I enjoy.
me.
Oh,
That's
it's
awesome.
nice.
So
People
what
can't
are
believe sometimes how many books I like when I say like I've read like 5 books this week. All right, what? How'd you do that? But yeah, so
so what kind of books are you reading right now? What's on your playlist?
actually, right now I'm reading Sam Houston and the Texas Avengers because we moved to Texas this year,
Oh yeah.
and I don't know nothing about Texas. So my kids, I told my wife, I was like, I can't have my kids knowing more about Texas history than me. So I had to get a Texas history book. So I'm listening to that right now. But just started. It's by Brian Kilmeade, I think. But
Mhm.
I've actually learned a lot about the Battle of the Alamo and stuff that I never even realized. It's
That's
interesting.
awesome. Yeah,
But
I used to, when my kids were smaller, when they were kind of babies, I would drive around with them for hours trying to get them to sleep, and they would just like take naps in the car, and that would be my audiobook time. It was the best.
yeah, I
So,
enjoy it. I
um,
just got done with 12 Rules of Life, though, by Jordan Peterson. I'm going to
oh,
have
I
to
haven't read
re-listen
that
to that
one.
one a couple more. It's amazing. I mean, if you, he definitely leans a lot towards Christianity, but for the psychological aspect of it, I mean, he hits some points that
Mhm.
are pretty good. It's a long book and it's hard to listen to straight. So it's like 22 hours, I think it
Oh
is.
yeah,
But
yeah.
so I've listened to it a couple times, but I just finally finished it. So again,
Nice. Now I'm curious, was there any spiritual aspect to your journey, from where you started with?
that's what's going to make me sound crazy though. Um, because I was a Luciferian for a long time. Like I was
Mhm.
a, it's not a Satan. Well, now when I look back, I know it is a Satan worshiper, but at that time, I didn't believe in the aspect of Satan because I
Mhm.
believed that was Christians labeled him. It's a title and whatever. And so there was a, I, there was a guy that came to a prison I was in Jefferson City, and I was in solitary confinement. I had for like a long time, and he kept coming every, like, I don't know, it was like a Monday or Tuesday, it was at the beginning of the week, but he would always come to my cell door and just sit there and he would pray, and
Hmm.
I'd kick the door
Who
cussing
was
at him. And
this?
he was a just a missionary guy from
Oh,
Rock of
okay.
Ages prison ministry.
And he would
And
just go
he
to
would,
prisons and do that?
yeah, and one, like, he just wouldn't say nothing, just sit there and pray. And after about 2 months, I finally asked him, I was like, why are you doing this? Like, what? Because I mean, I'm saying some harsh things to him, and he just said, I just want you to know God still loves you. And he walked off. And that night, I actually got transferred out of that prison.
Wow.
And that, it changed me though. Like it really, I think that might have been the first step that, I don't know what your beliefs are in that aspect, but like showing me that somebody does actually still care enough that doesn't even know me, that they would go out of their way to do something like that. And so, and that night, like, I trusted, like, I read the little flyer thing that he had, the tract, and trusted Jesus. And like, I broke down actually that night, and that probably would have been the start of
Hmm.
a journey. But I didn't know how to be a Christian either. So like, I didn't go to church growing up, so I was like, I didn't, in prison's not the type of inmate I was not the type of person to be going to like the Christian services, because that's where a lot of the sex offenders go. And
Oh yeah.
I wasn't trying to put myself in that situation. So uh, I didn't really grow at all from that. Like, I just, it, like, fell like right back into the crazy stuff I was doing in there. But that was, so I think God has a huge part of what changed me. Because I mean, even my wife, meeting her, she got put in a place that I can guarantee she's never done drugs, nothing. Like, she's totally opposite of me. She's not from St. Louis. She's from like a little small town with like 300 people in it. And she was put at a place that I don't know why they decided, her and her friends decided to go there, but she was there. And uh, without that situation happening, I don't think I'd ever met somebody like her. I was used to, like, maybe people listen to this might, I don't know who your audience is, but like, I was used to drug addicts, strippers, and
Hmm.
like like, I'm not saying all strippers are bad, but the majority of them aren't the best. So,
Right,
and that's
right.
what I was like. I surrounded myself. I think I liked the attention because I didn't know, like, that love thing wasn't really there for me. So I just liked the attention they gave me, and just for the wrong reasons. So, but so I think, yeah, I guess the spiritual aspect is definitely there.
Yeah, it does sound like there was a higher level guidance kind of helping you along the way, placing these things in your path. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like,
and that, it's definitely, if I look back on my life, there has been some key people in my life that, like, we should have never crossed paths, but we did.
mhm.
And I mean, regardless of how people feel about Christianity, I believe God is 100% like in. he definitely had a lot to do with me changing,
Yeah,
or
yeah, for sure.
whoever somebody wants to call it. But I definitely, I don't know. I definitely wouldn't. It would have been harder doing it on my own, and like not seeing these things that were put in front of me, because I could have just turned my back on each one of
Mhm.
them and not took it. But something in me just told me that. Like I begged my wife when I first met her for her phone number, and she wouldn't give it to me. Actually, she didn't want nothing to do with it because she. I don't. I mean, I think I look fairly uh, friendly, but somebody that comes from where she's from and then the environment that she was in, she was like not having, like didn't want
Right.
nothing to do with me. But we end up 2 days after that, we ended up on a date, and we've been together ever since. So
That's awesome. That's awesome.
yeah.
Do you feel like, what do you feel like is the biggest lesson, like your biggest takeaway from the whole thing?
Hmm. To not give up on yourself and
Mm,
not always believe in labels. Like I thought I was just
mhm.
like poor white trash, and that's how I lived my life. And that's like the biggest lesson. It would be that to not just believe what other people like put onto you and like say about you, and because you can let that define who you are, and it's a terrible way to go. Many people live that way. So that was
Yeah.
my, like I still to this day just, I get discouraged sometimes when I get into meetings with some of these equipment dealers and they look at me, they're all in suits and
Hmm.
businessmen, and they, I hear snide remarks, but I just ignore it because they're usually not the ones I need to be talking to anyway. So
Right, right.
uh, I mean, it does bother you at times. I mean, that's hard. I think it's just our human nature, but I just get past it and be like, yeah, I don't care what they say. I'm still going to accomplish what I'm here to do. So just keep going forward.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much. And that's such a big, for anybody listening or watching, regardless of what you're doing, where you came from, where you're headed, not believing in the labels and not giving up on yourself is something that, we all need to listen to that.
Oh, for sure.
That
Like it
that
doesn't
applies to every
really,
experience.
it does. And that's what my goal, like I'm in John Maxwell group and like doing all the John Maxwell stuff. And my goal is actually trying to use my past experiences just to show people, no matter what walk of life you are, because there's people that are executives that get in the same situations with
Hmm.
like people in meetings and they feel like they got belittled. They just
Hmm.
have to get it, like overcome that and realize that that person sees something in them that intimidates them. So they need to use that to their advantage and just keep going forward. So that is one of my goals in the future, is to start doing that more, but it's hard with my schedule.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, Donnie, thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. Is there anything else that you want to share? Anything else that comes to your mind or you're looking forward to, you want to let us know about?
Um, I'm not offhand though.
Okay,
No.
awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. And we will see you next time.